This week on the show, Hutchie and I go through Moonee Valley, played absolutely brilliant. Well done to the track staff there, Friday night and Saturday. No excuses for any horse there. Hen House, Via Sistina, Hen House, Via Sistina, Via Sistina, Via Sistina, and a little bit more about Via Sistina and how good she went. But where does she go to next and what do we do with her in the autumn? That's the important thing. Is it an outlier or do we trust her now to continue to be able to do something like that? Because the price is going to be really important with Via Sistina going forward. Let's open up Pandoras Fox. Hello and welcome to the Via Sistina show. My name's Julian Balance, joined as always by Clint Hutchison from racing.com. Hutchie, got through the week. I saw you were on air, I think, for the Saturday at Moonee Valley. Would have been one hell of a show seeing her do what she did, and I speak of that mare Via Sistina.
Yeah, it was on Friday night, but...
Oh, good.
You know. So thanks for watching.
I will say, I flicked it over once during the weekend, or I just assumed that was the Saturday. So you're on at some stage. But Friday night was great too. There was a horse that went through the roof.
It all meshed into one. I know where you're coming from. Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Keeping it afloat.
Amazing weekend. Look, we saw an amazing performance, which we'll touch on shortly, but... Cox Plate delivered again?
It did, it absolutely did. Let's get to the track intel because it was brilliant. Track analysis here, Hutch, Moonee Valley. Now we know it was a 2-day event because you were there Friday night, not there Saturday, but true position the entire circuit for both Friday night and Saturday. Good 4 upgraded to a good 3 on the Saturday on Cox Plate Day because that's the day we're going to talk about here after race 5. And times indicate that. They weren't blistering times. There's probably going to be an outlier there, which we're going to get to shortly. But it didn't race as if it was a fast 1 or 2, I didn't think. But I thought this track played brilliantly. We are very quick to criticise, and when they have multiple days and carnivals, it makes it really hard for curators to be able to get it right. Marty Simon and his team, like hats off, that was brilliant the way Moonee Valley played Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're in the lap of the weather gods, literally. So, you know, we can't be too critical of them when things work out. It should. I'm sorry, we can't be too critical of them when things don't work out.
Yep.
But he had that perfect sort of weather leading in where he could do what he wanted to. And the track held up really well. We thought it would play quick on the Friday night, which it, played quick enough. And they didn't sort of mark the track too much. And it was brilliant for both days. There were no excuses.
And that's the key. And that's why we probably do the track intel is to say, okay, were there some lanes evident, which we saw that at Caulfield during those 3 days, that maybe can be forgiving of some horses. But that's why we do it, because there was no excuses for any horse in terms of whether they didn't get luck when they needed to get luck at the right time. From a track perspective, every horse had their chance.
Well, it was a nice change from sort of what we've been dealing with for the majority of the spring, which is Melbourne weather and which is what we deal with. But no, well done, Marty. And it was fantastic. And bring on Cup Week.
That's the track intel for Moonee Valley. All right, Hen House here, Hutch. I've identified 2 races in particular, and there's probably a couple others that could have half gone in, but I went with these 2 because I just think they went enormous. One we're going to, obviously everyone knows about, and this one I think most people know about as well, but it was race 7. The winner was Barraquil. They've gone a tick over 1 second inside standard time, 22.72, 11.40, last 400, 200, best of the day. Now it was over the short course, so you can understand why last 400 was the best of the day, but this horse has gone enormous. It's building a great record. But it was outstanding, I thought, Barraquil.
Yeah, well, the winning sort of strike rate's amazing for this horse. So, it's a good story, the whole thing. Didn't look like he wasn't going to race at one point. They persevered. Obviously, they knew he had some ability, and he certainly delivered. And we spoke about how after the post the Everest, there wasn't much between, what
First
I did
and
at 30 and 30th, and he probably would have been about 30th, but he's not anymore. Like, he's right up there.
Yeah. I'll ask you later, a little bit later in the show, about where this horse can get to and maybe where you would plot a path for him, because that was outrageous. And what we're trying to identify here as well, I think if he ran second, I'm unstoppable, he's going to go into the Fox's den. Third, fourth and fifth, I think if they just go on the outer edges of some sprint races, they're going to win some races as well. It's just a race you want to absolutely stamp him.
Yeah, well, he was exceptional. So, and the runner-up, like you said, we'll touch on later, but definitely one to trust.
All right, the other race that goes into the Hen House, and it'll be in everyone's Hen House for a very, very long time, if not the greatest Cox Plate of my living history. Winner Via Sistina. tick over 3 seconds inside standard time, and it's a hot standard time too on a good track. Last 400, 200, pretty good compared to the rest of the day. Every which way you cut it, you break it down, it was just phenomenal. We spoke about probably in this show 2 or 3 weeks ago that we loved the Turnbull Stakes and that it was the form line to follow. We've got the winners out of the Caulfield Cup, but she was something else on Saturday, punters, which everyone knows, so we're not going to be telling you anything different, but wow.
Wow's right. I mean, you were watching it. In the run, I thought, well, Prognosis in a great spot here. I knew they were going as quick as they were, and you thought, oh, he's positioned perfectly. He's got to have his chance, and he ran up, I think, to his mark.
Yep.
She's just pulled something completely special out, and you need a fast track, you need a fast tempo, but, that sustained speed was just incredible. And you sort of go back. I go back after that race, and I think, how has she won so impressively? And I suppose you go back, it just reminds me of how ordinary all those riders were in the QE2 back in
the autumn.
In the autumn, because she's done what she did there pretty much prior to Jenny, but she had horses close enough because then they've jerried that they can't be that far back.
Yep.
And obviously, it produced a special performance. So, she didn't run home in great time that day, Jenny, either, and she's pretty much done the same again here.
Yeah.
So, just an incredible win, and it shows how good she was. I mean, that's what happens when you get those fast races. It shows the elite talent that some have.
Yeah, and she showed elite talent. So now we've got the question with her, and I put this into perspective, sort of sent something out on Twitter Saturday night because I could rate that meeting overall. Moonee Valley had the times from Vince Arcadi, so thanks for that, Vince, always sending them through. Of the Cox Plates, I had her plus 11. So again, that's the way I rate. So it doesn't mean much to the people out there. But Winx's best ever, which I think I've got at 2015, was plus 10. So I've got her going better than any of Winx's. Now, that doesn't mean I think she's a better horse than Winx. In terms of that one peak performance, that Cox Plate for me sits above all else, including all 4 of Winx's. And people will disagree with that, and that's fine. But that's just the way I do it. That's the way I rate. That's how I punt off my ratings. No one needs to know about that. But it was a peak performance. Here's the question for you, Hutch, and the important thing for the punters is that the outlier for her going forward, that she'll never be able to get to that mark again, or do you now trust her that she can be like a Winx and put 5 to 10 performances in a row similar? Because it is a big number for her. Yes, she put a bit of a stamp there on the ladder to get to that success with the Turnbull, which we loved, which I had at plus 8.5. But to go plus 11 on a higher base of Moonee Valley is something else again. What do you do with her in the autumn? Don't even worry about, because I'll get to asking you about her at next start, possibly this prep. In the autumn, when she comes back, first up at 1,400 metres, the market's going to go absolutely hammer.
Yeah, of course
because
it will.
It is. So do we trust that number, or do we have to wait and see that she comes back?
Look, you don't need to buy a pacemaker for the staying races. They do that. She'll do it off a fast speed, but how many races are you going to be against Jenny off that? The 1,400, 1,600, she's not going to bring that sort of number, I don't think.
Yeah.
But look...
But we saw it in the Ranvet, and we saw it first up in I think, one of the first up races at Sydney. She can do it off slow tempos, and she probably had people thinking, she can only do it on slow tempos. And she had that acceleration to be able to do it first up 1,400 metres the first time when she came to Australia in the Ranvet. So we know she can accelerate quickly. Now she's added the bow that she can do it in fast run races.
Oh, it's frightening. It's frightening because when you look at her and it's easy now that you've got hindsight.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
We're all geniuses in hindsight. But when you see the calibre of the horse that she is being able to win fresh up over that trip, it's not her trip.
Yeah.
And she's still good enough to run them down over, 1,400?
Yeah, 1,400, yeah.
She can go to 2,000. She'll probably get further. She relaxes. I think the interesting thing that J-Max said was like just riding her quiet that first half and, getting her into a good rhythm. I mean, her form, this preparation, apart from that blip at Flemington and the Mackay on the really wet track, is just impeccable. And she's produced a huge number. She's not going to go back to that. I don't think that number.
It's so high, isn't it?
Unless she gets that same set of circumstances, fast track, fast pace. But we know she can do it. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
we do know that
she's got the ability to do it. Yeah. And now we know that the market's actually going to probably price her off that performance as well. So then it becomes really interesting for the punter out there that you got $5 on Saturday. Totes hammered her too, by the way. There's something in that she sort of started $4 across the board there. So bigger players who play across the tote wanted to be with her, trusting that Turnbull Stakes form. But now they're going to be, instead of getting the $4 or $5, you're taking $1.75, $1.65. Do you know what I mean? Even in the 1,400 metre races, because that's just what they're going to stamp her off. Well, I think she's got the ability to do that. Whereas the other horses that are racing against her have never reached that mark ever, will unlikely ever reach that mark again. And now we have to work out whether she's going to be able to do it again. It's going to be fascinating going forward, especially in the autumn. But
we're being dominated by the 7-year-old mares.
Yeah, and then I realised she's a Northern Hemisphere 6-year-old mare, so we need to be careful there. But 7-year-old, yes, in the race book for Via Sistina. Bella Nipotina is also the 7-year-old mare as well, so that you talk about that.
They're about to turn, not far off.
Correct.
Over, but she's an unbelievable talent.
She sure is. That was the Hen House this week. For every Hen House, Hutch, there's got to be a Dog House. 2 races for me on Saturday that I was slightly concerned about when reviewing was race 4. Winner was Double Market. They've gone a third of a second inside standard time. The last 400-200 is a bit that really stinks for me. 24.62, 12.60, last 400-200, worst of the day. Going into the race, I was slightly worried about it as a group race for these young 3-year-olds. Coming out of it, I'm even more worried. And just from a fact of well done connections, you've got your win. I don't want to be with this race going forward.
No, I think that's fair, and it was one of the results that I had. So, as far as it rated, couldn't care less.
Couldn't care. We're moving on.
We got a prize. And actually, there was a bit of money around for it.
There was actually. It was sort of $6.50 into $5. And you could understand why, because I thought the Sydney form of that Ikasara, I think it was slightly concerning. It had only had the one run. It rated pretty well. And you could sense that it probably had a bit more upside than the rest. And it showed that as well, because it didn't get every favour in the run. I thought it was a pretty good performance.
It wasn't a bad win. It was only, it's lightly raced too.
Correct. So it could be winner only out of the race. It could continue to improve, absolutely.
But it has to be placed right as well.
Absolutely. And I think from a market perspective going forward, if we see these horses again in 2 weeks, especially 2nd, 3rd and 4th, I think the market's going to take its head against it, in particular race 4. Second race here we're going to talk about here is race 6, and I reckon you're going to stick up for it too, because I reckon you send a tweet out saying well done to the connections of this one. It's Red Aces, and they've done a great job with it, Nick Ryan. 2.25 seconds outside standard time here. Look, last 400-200, they couldn't break 12 seconds. Now, the reason why we put this race in here is they're going to the Derby this Saturday.
Yeah.
Now, we spoke about a race last week, which I think was 4 seconds outside standard time.
It's great prep runs, aren't they?
They're amazing, aren't they? So, but they're going to meet. Now, there's only one other outlier to that, and that's probably Broadsiding and the Spring Champion Stakes, which also I rated from Sydney, as I digress very quickly here, Hutch. It hasn't rated through the roof either. So they're all sort of in the same boat, except for Broadsiding, which sits outside a little bit of that. Look,
you're not trusting it. You're bagging the race. You're bagging the horse.
I'm not bagging the horse.
What have you got against poor old Red Aces? Hey?
The race has gone putrid.
But the point is, they're all going to be racing each other.
Correct. So it could still win the Derby. Like if I was to take this race versus the Caulfield race, this is the race I'd prefer. Yeah. But it's the lesser of two evils, I think.
Well, look, does Broadsiding run there?
And this is the big question, which I'll ask you a little bit later.
It's game over, but anyway.
Yeah, so, but well done. But again, like just no margins here. Opening address, which I backed in a 64, I think, last start, holds on and runs second. So, which I don't mind is going to be an okay stayer, but stamping this race.
Fraught with danger. I mean, the race is no good if you're tackling normal company, but they're all going to race against each other.
Correct.
So it's like having a really bad team, you know.
Yeah, but you're playing another really bad team.
You're playing another really bad team.
Yes.
So you kind of got to take that into account.
It's going to be an interesting derby if Broadsiding doesn't go there, what the market's going to do. Which race do they trust? Do they trust that Caulfield Stakes, which we, again, saw in the Doghouse? Yeah. Or they trust the Vars and the Quick 7?
I think they'll lean to the Sydney form, to be honest.
Yeah, they'll go to the Spring Champion.
The Spring Champion, and then you'll probably won't have much, Keeneland and Red Aces, or there'll be a bunch of them that there won't be much between.
Yep. All right, that's the Doghouse this week. Hits and misses, Hutch. So horses from the PointsBet trading floor that were backed but either hit, they got the chocolates, or they missed out. And what we're going to talk here about, punters, is whether we want to be with these horses going forward, or we think they might have had their birthday and we'll leave them go. But race 3, Certain Rise, $3.80 into $2.40. I think it was only its third start. Hutch come off sort of a maiden win at Mornington. I thought it had to do it both ways. Led out, was wide, worked hard. and I thought was okay late. I think it's a horse for the future, Certain Rise.
Happy birthday to you. No, you
You're
can
not
have
with it? You don't want to be with it?
No, it's a nice horse, but no, I didn't post anything super special.
No, that's fair. It didn't rate through the roof, but I just reckon there's something in it just because you had to work early. So I'm going to keep that one on side, and we'll talk
How
about
was
that.
my
later.
singing voice, by
It
the
was
way?
very good. Yeah, no, that was outstanding. That's right up there. Shout out to Belinda again. Race 4, Polymnia, $3.40 into $2.50. Was along the inside, but I still thought got its chance. I'd be against this horse going forward.
Yeah, come on. It was a bit held up, but I think you're stretching if you think it cost it the race.
Yeah, correct. Next one from Sydney as well was in race 6, King of Thunder. Now, it was in this Red Aces race, $6 into $3.90. It sort of came off their back, but again, I thought at the 100 was there to win the race. Now, whether it's going to be improved, probably going to the Derby, that's up to you, but I don't know if that's one I want to be stamping going forward.
Well, you bagged the whole race.
I have.
So don't be jumping off the horse now. You stick to your word.
Race 7, extra 2. I think we might have set this off, this horse, $23 into $6.50. Look, back on the inside was unplaced, but it's deep into a prep. I think it's probably done for me for the prep now.
Yeah, look, he was over the odds early, or extra 2.
Yeah.
Is it he or a she?
It's a she.
Well,
Yeah.
I was close.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I would say, I actually was going to say
50 chances.
No, this is the thing. I think there's more options than 50-50 now. You've got to be really careful. You've got to be really, really careful.
Okay, we're not stepping into those areas.
No.
But no, I won't be sticking with extra 2. Had a good preparation.
Did, yeah. It was long prep, and I sort of think understood they thought. But this race has rated really well. But yeah, I think it's been deep in. This is an interesting horse for me, Hutch, because I think it's going to be on the quick 7-day back up into an Empire Rose. Race 8, plenty of ammo, $4.80 into $3.80. I thought it was a good performance. I think it was only second up. Could you back it in a quick 7-day back up in an Empire Race?
The horse to stick with. This was a good win. I know there was a lot of unlucky runs back in behind. It's rated well with me, and like just once again winning strike rate, not dissimilar I think to Barraquil in a way that like they keep winning. Yep. Sometimes they're putting up numbers, but this number was decent.
Yep.
There'll be improvement, like the backup, right sort of stable. I'd be trusting plenty of ammo.
Good. That's a good one there for the punters. And race 10, this one was off the map. I couldn't work it out. Firestorm, $3.50 into $2.40, runs unplaced. I couldn't work it out at the beginning. I can't work it out now. I wouldn't want to be with it going forward.
When Lady Jones is a nice source for Stephen Brownkamp, so well done. But come on. Yeah. There are a lot of well-exposed horses in that race.
Correct. It was a low and didn't rate very well either too. So just be careful of that race going forward. That last race. That's the hits and misses, punters. Righto, Black Booker time in the Fox's Den. I'm going to go first because I've got a few here. I'm going to bore you here a little bit, Hutch, and then you've got 2, I think, that you want to identify. Yes. Holy Racket ran on Saturday in race 1. I didn't think it had much luck behind Acromantula, which sort of controlled the tempo. It was only its second up run. Find it a race over the Flemington Carnival or maybe Caulfield again. Holy Racket, I want to be with it. I Am Unstoppable. I think everyone would have seen it.
Again, though?
Yeah. It's going enormous though.
Yeah,
it's going enormous. So that Barraquil race, obviously, we've put into the Hen House. They've got to pick the right race. Like if they were to go to the Group 1 1200 metres, that's a bridge too far for me. Yeah. There's got to be some other races there, something for I Am Unstoppable. I think we can get a win out of it.
It got beat first up. I thought it would win, and I watched it with interest in a very weak race. But yeah, it's running well.
Yeah, it is. It gets bad. It does some things wrong. Yeah, correct. I'm going to give it one more chance. I know, it's got me again, yeah. And now we're going off Broadway here. So she's got pizzazz, one of Kilmore Maiden, one of Moody's. It's a 3-year-old filly. It's a really nice horse. Don't know where they go. I see that it has been nominated for the Placid Arc, which is in Perth, which is on 1,000 Guineas Day. That might come too soon, but it's 50s in the market at PointsBet. I'd love to know if it was going, because if it was going, I reckon it'd win the race. But they may just stay in Victoria.
They did ask the owners post-race that, and I think they were talking about potentially going to 1,000
guineas, yeah. So you probably need to run somewhere soon at 1,400 metres and then quickly get to 1,600 metres.
It was a good win, though.
She's a nice horse.
The meeting was abandoned that day. They had you driving the truck. I think it was the barrier day.
Oh, there's always something. There's always something new, but that's a new one, that one. Another 3-year-old filly that went good for me, Dame Hood. I think Kieran Maher's got this horse. Wherever it goes next start, I want to be with. Then there's another one called Maryland's Edge. It is right off Broadway, so follow it. And then I've got a few others. Grey Ice is a horse that I think ran 5th or 6th in a race but didn't have much luck. I think we can be with it. And Bridal Waltz. Now, it comes out of a race that you're going to identify very, very soon from Moonee Valley on Friday night. Didn't have much luck. I think we can be with Bridal Waltz because it sort of finished 5th or 6th, so maybe the market might forget about it, but be with it. Your two are, the beginning one was from Moonee Valley.
Moonee Valley, Rich Dotty. Yeah, this was a really good performance. Well supported. Love the win. It's racked up a good number as well. Lightly raced horse. I'm not sure. Where do you think they'll go? I'm not sure where they'll go.
I heard a whisper. There's a stakes race over the Flemington Carnival now. I don't know which day it is. That go to. You just got to be with this. Whatever price they put up's too big.
Rich Dotty.
Going to be a really nice,
impressive performance. So Rich Dotty's one to stick with and probably jump on early when it comes out. There was another horse that ran at Geelong at the Geelong Cup meeting on Wednesday called Oh Too Good.
Yep.
I haven't heard of the trainer, so it's from a very small stable. Great ride from Damien Lane, just pretty much sat in the 1-1, but has run time and has run the sort of time that says to me, they may well go to another benchmark race.
No, so that race was a heat of the $500,000 final for country trainers that haven't trained that many winners in town on an Oaks Day. So you usually get the off-Broadway, but that number was massive, wasn't it?
I'd be happy to follow up, particularly if you see someone like Damien Lane stick.
Yeah,
and
I think he would. And the thing is, you go, I think Daffy trains it, and you go, well, what's he doing at Flemington? But they're all going to be in the same boat in that race. So it's for country trainers. So don't get misaligned because you see it at Flemington and think, it's out of its depth. It won't be. The rating was big, wasn't it?
It was
really,
number.
really good. That's in the Fox's Den this week, punters. Okay, Hutch, think outside the Fox time. I'm going to ask you about some horses that we saw over the weekend and what you would do with them because we're still in the air. Monday morning, we're filming this. We don't know where these horses are going, so it will probably age really well like milk when we talk about them. But Via Sistina, 3 options. I'm going to give you 4 options, actually.
4?
Yep.
Okay.
Paddock, Melbourne Cup, 2,000 metre champion stakes at Flemington, or Hong Kong? Which one would you go to, and which one do you think is the better chance of success for her?
Well, the Cup, I don't know if she'd stay.
Yep.
And champion stakes, and then probably Hong Kong. That's what I'd be thinking. But they wouldn't do both.
Yeah.
So, and they wouldn't go to the paddock. I mean, they might go to the paddock, but I would think the ownership group would be quite keen on going to Hong Kong.
I think that would be. I agree with that. I think they'd want to go to Hong. I reckon I've got it down to either Hong Kong. Or, actually, no, I'm going to change that. I've got it down to paddock or cup. For whatever reason, I just don't reckon. When's the last time Waller travelled a horse?
He does, Nature Strip, but he that was planned months ahead, and he doesn't seem to
just
do it very often. Well, he enters
them
them every year in Hong Kong as well, and they don't go. But the difference with this horse is the ownership group. Mr. Zhang, he has a few horses in Hong Kong. There is a relationship there. And they'd already signalled their intent to potentially go there. Now, had Via Sistina probably come out and won by a length or so, I think they were more likely. Now that, as silly as it sounds, I'm thinking they might be going, well, hang on, let's reassess things because we might have an unbelievable talent. Do we have to aim higher?
If she went to Hong Kong and she raced against Romantic Warrior, 2 questions. Who would you be with? And secondly, who would James McDonald ride, do you think, out of the 2?
I think what would happen is this. She'd go into the Vars, not the Cup. So she'd go the 2400.
Okay.
Because James would say, I'll ride Romantic there. You put her in the 2400 and I'll win both.
Win both. Yeah.
That's what I think would happen.
Yeah, okay.
Because I believe she's entered in both. But
okay. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting call because Chris Waller has so much input in a lot of these things, and like you said, he doesn't travel a lot. But all of a sudden, the ownership group, who are a powerhouse, might be calling the shots this time.
Yep.
And if they want to go, they're going. So we'll wait and see.
All interesting with Via Sistina. So you probably already heard the news as you're hearing this that whatever she's done. So that was good. 3 minutes of stuff from us.
Sorry.
Barraquil. Where would you go with Barraquil? Would you have a crack at the Group 1? Which is not going to have Bella Nipotenca because they're staying up for the more prize money. You might have to run into Giga Kick. Or do you go 1,400 metres Rupert Clark? Or do you go to some crazy race at Cranbourne now that's worth $1 million called the Meteorite?
Go the Meteorite.
Yeah. So I think
take some cash off the table. Take some cash off the table and then go, okay, now we can aim a little bit. Because I think it's still Barraquil's only had 7 starts.
I think very lightly raced.
So I know it's a mature horse, but still, I'd be mean, there is a school of thought, strike while the iron's hot. But I tell you what, the media, right? There won't be much around at that point.
No, you would have thought, and around Cranbourne too, just suits it, like for $1 million.
Picking it up off the ground.
Yep. And the last one I'm going to ask you again, which is an interesting one, is broadsiding. Coming out of the Cox Plate, running third in the race of all races, would you go to the Derby or would you go to the Paddock or would you go to the Champion Stakes maybe over 2,000 metres with broadsiding if you had him?
Paddock. I'd go the
You'd
Paddock.
go Paddock?
Yeah, I do, because he'd win the Derby if they ran him.
Yep.
But I just think more down the track.
Yep.
And, he's got so much of a class edge on the rest of them. But he's not seasoned yet. We heard from Jamie Carr post-race saying, maybe next year's Cox Plate.
Yeah.
It was a good run. He ran
Yeah,
well.
Yeah, no doubt.
I wouldn't mind a little blinkers or something on him. Maybe he'll get better with a bit of racing, but he's an exciting prospect. He'll be better in 6 months' time, and I think they can aim up in the autumn. So what about you? What would you do?
I'd go to the Derby because I want to see a good horse in the Derby, and the Sheikh does too. So the Sheikh, I think I'd go to the Derby with him, just for the fact that this whole prep's been very... I mean, the camp knows the horse better.
What happens if he loses?
I do my cash and we lose and we kick rocks and we end up down the Maribyrnong.
Does it damage his overall profile if he gets beaten?
Look, the Derby's not a race that's going to do much for you, like Page at all anyway,
and
even if he wins.
Key.
And even if he wins.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
So if you win, does it really give you much?
Yeah. My only thing to that is, does the Sheikh on Derby Day, like a little bit of your Yulong situation, stand at the feet and say, hey, I'm going to come over for the Derby.
Yeah.
And if I do, I want to see my horse run in it. And
hey, look, they're
win.
there to race, and it's his 3-year-old year. It's almost like it's there for the taking, but he does have to back up out of the Cox Plate.
Yeah.
Been a couple of good ones back up
out
of the Cox Plate and fail. So if it was me, I'd go Paddock and then aim up higher in the autumn. But I don't own him.
Yeah, no, that's true. I wish... It'd be good if you did. I don't reckon you'd be sitting next to me if you did.
Even 5% would be all right.
But it's been it's been an interesting prep for broadsiding. Like 1,400 metres first up Golden Rose, then straight to 1,600 metres Caulfield Guineas, and then third up straight into that mental 2,000 metres Cox Plate. It's all happened very quickly for him. So I understand Jamie's comment saying he'll be better with some experience and like just some miles under his legs, because that all happened very quickly, that 1,400, 16 to 2,000. Very quick.
And the same thing happened in the Caulfield Guineas as it did in the Cox Plate. On the turn, he just lost his momentum. He's not quite there yet. And he's not the finished product. On that note, Flemington will be perfect for him.
Wouldn't it?
And that distance, he'll get into his rhythm long straight and he'll balance up and just cruise past them. But once again, he'll be more seasoned in 6 months.
Yep, fair point. That's the show, punters. Thanks, Hutch. We got through it. That was good.
We got through it.
Well done on Racing.com too on that Friday night. I really enjoyed it. From the first bounce to the final siren, I watched every bit of it and it was brilliant.
It means a lot that you were watching. Thanks, Jules.
Thanks, guys. See ya. Thanks for watching, punters. Please like and subscribe. It's not even that hard.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.